Welcome! On this episode of Tomorrow's World Today, we visit the world of production to learn how one company is helping to salvage trees after wildfires, and how forestry management helps keep our forests healthy. From Inventionland World Headquarters, here's our host, George Davison.
I love learning how companies got their names. You know, some businesses are named after their founders, and sometimes they're named after a place. But no matter what, there's always thought behind it, and always a good story to tell. Even an ugly dog, like the one in this picture, could be the inspiration for a company's name. In the 1960s, Henry Vidgren developed a load-carrying forest tractor in a local village workshop. The machine was made entirely out of recycled parts, and to put it mildly, well, it wasn't the most attractive piece of machinery that village had ever seen. But boy, did it work, and it reminded him of his trusty hunting dog, Ponsse. Now, this is the very first drawing of a Ponsse machine. You see, Ponce's fur, it was gray and dirty. The dog just wasn't all that good looking, but it was reliable. And it never came back from a hunting trip empty-handed. So it only made sense to Henry that he name his trusty but ugly machine after his trusty but ugly dog. And that's how Ponsse was born. Ponsse has gone on to become one of the largest, most reliable forest machinery vehicle manufacturers in the world. And it's the reliability of their harvester and their forester that helped to process trees after the 2020 wildfires out in Oregon. Now, let's go join David, who's out in Oregon right now to learn more about this operation.
I'm in Eugene, Oregon, at the site where the wildfires began last year. This fire lasted for weeks, but the biggest loss in a short amount of time was when 1.2 million acres burned in just 72 hours. And as you can see, I'm surrounded by burnt trees. Most people would see the remnants of the fire and think, this wood is ruined, but that's where they would be wrong. After a wildfire, a massive cleanup has to take place. Post-fire salvage not only lets us collect and use wood that was burned, but also helps lower the risk of an accidental fire happening in the area again. Converting dead trees into products can reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the air, which in turn can help with climate change. Ponsse is working here to reclaim the wood that was burned when the fires happened in the summer of 2020. They don't have a lot of time, just 6 months, to process as much wood as they can before it's no longer usable. I'm meeting Pekka Ruskinen, President and CEO of Ponsse North America, to learn more about the process. You must be Pekka.
Oh, hi, David.
Hi, Pekka. You're a man of your word. You said you'd be here, and here you are.
Well, I'm always here. I was born in the woods.
Well, I tell you, it's good to see you, and I'm glad we could have this conversation. It was devastating to hear about the 4,000 homes that were destroyed, and then I get here and I see these trees, and I don't know how any of this is salvageable. So how does something that has been burned get used again?
Well, our Ponsse machines are actually a big help with that one. Ponsse is family-owned, publicly traded company from Finland, and we have been building these machines over 50 years now. And we have been over 26 years in the United States. But to answer your actual question is that we have a computer system that can maximize every log out from each burned tree and minimize the waste what stays in the ground. Would you like to see them in action?
I would absolutely love to see them in action.
Well, let's go and look.
All right.
Hey David, this is Matt Theodore. He's gonna take care of you. I have to go and take care of some other business, but see you guys later.
See ya.
See you, Pekka.
Matt, it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, David.
So I'm really excited to learn all I can about these amazing machines you have, and my guess is this is the harvester.
You are correct. As a matter of fact, this is a Ponsse Ergo. This machine has 32 feet of reach from the center line of the machine, where then it takes this harvesting head, wraps it around the tree, a saw bar comes out underneath, cuts the tree down, then these 3 feed wheels pull the tree through the harvesting head where these knives then take the limbs off the tree. This wheel in the center measures the length, and then a saw bar comes out again and bucks the tree into logs.
Okay, and now per tree, how many lengths are you looking for?
It depends on the job, but overall we're trying to maximize the total value out of the tree. But this machine also works with another machine called a forwarder. Let's go take a look. And this is the other half of that team. This is the forwarder.
Wow, these tracks are massive. What's going on with them?
These tracks are a traction aid. They help the machine disperse its weight and protect the soil and climb the hill. When we have extreme slopes, we use this traction aid winch underneath as well. We tie it off to a stump and it helps the machine get to the road. I have some operators. Let's go see this machine in
All right,
action.
let's go. There are so many benefits to post-fire salvage when it comes to keeping our forests healthy. Not only does it support local timber industries, it also promotes future forest development and reduces the chances of fires happening again.
So now we're out in the harvest unit. Kyle, our harvester operator, has set up his machine. He has his winch strapped off on a stump and the cable's tight, and he's preparing to start opening up a new corridor. And what this means is he's going to go down and reach out 32 feet either side of his machine, cut trees, process them, and lay the logs out to the side. And after he's done with that corridor, then the other machine, the forwarder, will come by and pick up the logs. But this is the first phase in a multi-step process.
I've noticed a lot of the trees have green tops still, so how do you know which ones you have to process and which ones you just leave alone?
Excellent question. In this situation, it's a salvage operation. Most of these trees are already dead and don't know it, or there's a few that might be okay, but they're probably going to either blow over or die shortly. So we're taking all the trees in this situation, and then it'll be reforested. How about we give Kyle a green light? Let him go.
Sounds great to me.
Okay. Kyle, let's go.
So Matt, I see this teamwork we were talking about earlier taking place. Could you tell me exactly what's going to happen during this dance?
So what's going to happen here is Kyle is opening up this new corridor, cutting his way down the hill. In the meantime, Chewy on the next corridor is picking up the logs that Kyle had previously cut, putting them in his bunk. So when he gets it up the hill and he's got all the logs picked up, he'll unhook his cable, drive to the roadside, unload the logs, make a nice clean pile in preparation for the log truck. So David, we've seen what the machines have done to salvage as much of the burnt timber as possible. These logs are ready to go to the town, to the sawmill, to be turned into 2x4s and 2x6s and eventually people's homes. But let me show you what's next in this regenerative process.
I look forward to it. I'll follow you.
Let's check it out.
After a forest fire, there is a short window of time to collect burnt trees and use them for lumber. Now that all of the wood is collected, it heads over to a mill. Believe it or not, sawmills actually operate the same way they have for hundreds of years. The process may not have changed much, but the efficiency of milling definitely have. First, wood has to be debarked. The bark can be saved or can be sold as mulch or even used to fuel the kilns at a sawmill. Next, each log will go through metal detection, making sure to get rid of things like nails, fencing, or other metals that could be in the logs. After that, you really start to see the technological advancements that have happened in the milling industry. Lasers can help maximize the amount of lumber from every log, so there are no unnecessary cuts being made. The log is cut into the appropriate sizes and then it is graded and dried, either with a kiln or just good old-fashioned air drying. Finally, once it's dry, it's ready to be sold.
So Matt, what are we looking at here?
What we're looking at is a Ponsse Elephant King with a water tank, which makes it into an initial attack super skidgen. Machines like this are absolutely valuable in fighting wildfire. Initial attack is a great opportunity where we can knock down the flames and help prevent the fire from becoming catastrophic.
How much water can that carry and how long will that last?
2,600 gallons of water, but that machine can pump that out in 10 minutes.
So what's the process to kind of keep that in action? How do you refill it and keep it going fighting the fire?
Good question. So the machine has a couple ways to do this. We can either fill it off another machine, or it has an internal pump that can be placed in a water source and it can suck the water up and put it in its tank.
Why don't you say we turn around and watch it in action?
All right.
We've seen what happens to wood once it's been cleared, but we're not done yet. Let's head back to the clearing to see the next steps for the forest.
So David, now we're walking through the area that's been harvested, and just in the past few days, this area was planted with about 9-month-old Douglas fir seedlings.
So I've read that it takes 35 years for a forest to truly regenerate. What can we do in the future to prevent a forest fire like this from happening again?
Active forest management, letting foresters work with the land to control the vegetation to prevent catastrophic wildfires.
Now I've also noticed down here there's a tree line and there's a lot of green strings around those trees. What makes those trees special?
Those trees are there for a very specific purpose, and that is to help protect that stream. Even though the fire came through here, those trees are going to fall in the stream and become habitat for fish, because we want to reestablish wildlife and fish populations back into this area that is burned. But let's go take a look at what this is going to look like in the future.
I do not know where we're at, Matt. I can't see the forest for the trees, nor could Bigfoot. What I will say, it's dark in here and dense.
It is, and that's because this is a 27-year-old unthinned Douglas fir forest. But let me show you what active management looks like.
Sounds great.
Here we are in a thinned 27-year-old Douglas fir forest. We thinned this forest last fall, removed half the trees. They went to town to become forest products where we sequestered the carbon, reduced our fire hazard, and improved wildlife habitat. I call that a win.
Hey, that sounds great. Let's go find Bigfoot.
Okay.
Wow, Matt, you have a slice of heaven out here.
Yes, we do. This is my office. Across the landscape here, we have a mosaic of ages. The far hill over there is about 70-year-old Douglas fir. Right in the middle is a 30-year-old Douglas fir stand that we thinned 2 years ago, and we're currently standing in a 6-year-old Douglas fir forest. How about we go take a look at some of these ages?
I was thinking the same thing.
Great. So what we're looking at here is a 6-year-old Douglas fir.
Okay, so I see a Christmas tree. How do you know this is 6 years old?
I start at the top, I look at the leader, which is the top part of the tree, and the first cluster of branches is called the whorl, and I count down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 years in the field, maybe a year or two in the nursery, so foresters count it from the time it's planted in the field, so 6-year-old tree. How about we go look at another age class?
You lead the way.
Okay. So here, David, now we're looking at trees that are roughly twice the age and twice the size the ones we just looked at. These trees are in their teens and are now entering a rapid growth phase, their life cycle, and are sequestering lots of carbon and converting it into woody material.
I love the science going on. What do you say we go find some 20-somethings?
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. So now we're walking through a stand that's roughly around 20 years old.
Why are these limbs missing needles?
Well, what we've reached is the point at which the trees are big enough where the crowns are closing and the limbs below are starting to lose their needles and die off. We are rapidly approaching the point at which we need to perform some active management. Would you like to go look at that site?
You lead the way. Yeah, okay, Matt. Now I get it. Now I understand the cycle you're speaking of. I've seen them from saplings, now they reach all the way to the sky.
It's beautiful, isn't it? First we planted them, then we thinned them. In the process, we sequestered carbon, improved wildlife habitat. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Now the next thing I think we need to do is get you on a plane to Pittsburgh to meet with George at Invention Land. He'd love to learn more about this life cycle that you're speaking of, and I think you should bring something for him because he'd love to put that in his museum.
I'd love to.
Great.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, George.
What's this?
It's a Norway spruce, a gift for you.
Thank you very much, Matt. I know exactly what I'll do with this. I'm going to wrap a story around it, put it outside of Invention Land, and we'll start talking to the kids about the future of forestry.
That's great.
Super. So how'd David do out there in Oregon when he went out to see you?
David did fantastic. We had a great opportunity taking David to the forest where he saw the devastation from last year's wildfires. And he saw what we're doing in conjunction with the Ponsse machines to harvest that wood before it goes bad and then heal the land by replanting it.
Well, he also sent me this image. I was hoping you could help me to understand this a little more. Could you go through the process of what I'm looking at here?
So what we're looking at here is a diagram of the forestry life cycle. It starts out with the planting of the trees, then the trees grow. Then at some point in time, foresters actively manage the forest and re-engage, which will remove some trees, make the forest healthy, because our end result is we're trying to target growing a big, healthy forest. At some point in time, that forest will be harvested. Those products will go to town to benefit society, and the cycle will start all over again.
Very nice. You know, it kind of reminds me of a farmer. You know, they clear their field, they plant seed, and then they put their crops in, they harvest them, and they start all over the next year.
They do. Foresters do the same, just on a much longer time horizon.
Speaking of the horizon, what's on the horizon? What's the future look like for forest management?
Forest management has a bright future. It's going to involve a few things. One will be active management, this stage we talked about here where foresters are actively managing the forest to help prevent catastrophic wildfires. And then utilizing data and technologies to make decisions about what we do in the forest. And we're going to use connectivity with the machines and with foresters in the field to make smart decisions.
Interesting. So does the connectivity go all the way to the end user? So if we were to know what the end user's needs were, can those needs be sent out to a forester and then you're actually harvesting logs to that need?
Exactly. So what's going to happen in the future is when somebody places an order to build a house and they need a certain amount of certain sizes of lumber,
Yes.
that information will be transmitted to the machines which will be doing the harvesting to cut and process logs into the exact lengths needed to build that house.
Well, that's exciting. So this process actually looks like we're going to have less forest fires in the future, I hope.
We should.
All right, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go plant a tree. You've inspired me today, Matt.
Well, thanks, George. I got to get back and check on the guys in Oregon, so I'll see you later.
Safe travel.
Thanks.
To learn more about the content in today's episode, visit us online at www.tomorrowsworldtoday.com or find us on social at TWT Explore.